All right, here we go. YouTube, where you at? No. How do I go? I want to create a live stream. Sorry, I'm learning how to use YouTube as we go. Create. Ha. No. Oh well. All right. So I can't really do a live stream just yet, but I'm going to take a walk with the pup. There's the pooch. He's been dying to go for a walk. Where are you at? In the camera. And I'll just put it up like this, and it'll be a way of me practicing to do a live stream when I'm finally able to. I need 50 subscribers apparently, but I did it last week, so I don't even know how that happened. Maybe it was on the computer and not on the phone, but I was trying to figure out how to do it, and I heard that it was easier to do it on the phone than on the computer, but whatever. So Ted and I are going to go for our walk, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the healing power of stories. So last week when I was on the live stream, I talked a little bit about the healing power of stories by Daniel Taylor and how that changed my ethos, my ideas about and towards all kinds of, art that I was being influenced by. And so I no longer fear art and how it might influence me because I have a better way of understanding it. So this week is about Peter Parker. What if the bite that ruined Peter Parker actually saves him by giving him pain to do the job? That's my hook. That's my AI generated hook. I'm trying here, people. So just to recap the ideas. Oh, by the way, I'm Rachel. This is my podcast, Sacred Spills. I hope you're joining me. I hope you're enjoying some of the content I'm producing. I'm learning tons and trying to get better. So I hope you guys come along for the ride. So Daniel Taylor wrote this book called The Healing Power of Stories, and I just loved it. Now, it was like a culmination of a couple of things that helped me to come to the conclusion that I don't need to be so worried about art in general and influences overall, as long as I know that I'm centered in Christ and that I can analyze and understand the stories or the art for what it is. Tripping on the sidewalk over here. Right. So his first stories are whole stories. So whole stories are when good is good and bad is bad and good conquers over evil. Then his second category are the broken stories. What am I gonna get? I always do bent and broken stories. They get switched up a lot, and I get them backwards. But in a broken story, good is good and bad is bad, but bad conquers, bad overcomes. A classic version of this is the book 1984. You know, obviously, eventually our principal character is broken and he just becomes part of the evil system. So that's how a broken story goes. And then the next one is bent. So bent story, good is good and good is bad and bad is good. So they swap out the ideas between what is good and what is evil. And it kind of gets all twisted up and bent in the story. So in a bent story, you need to be more careful about how you're analyzing it and understanding it, because you might start rooting for the bad guy, not realizing, or rooting for the broken system that you're hoping somehow would win. Yet it's still broken. It's bent. It's constantly turning inward and on itself. Do they have a? Yeah, there's no. They have no. I need to get an example of a bent story. That's a better example. But anyway, and then of course, our last category is a healing story. And a healing story can really be any story if it has that redemptive arc. It's really neat, the idea that your redemptive arc could be for the character and you're learning along and journeying with the character. But the healing arc could actually be your healing arc. It could be what you are drawn to, or the lessons that you learn from the story itself, and how it impacts you. So I started my little hook about Peter Parker because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and to be honest, I've been a little distracted the last couple of years, but I loved Spider-Man when I was a kid growing up, and really enjoyed the character and all the Avengers series because I had the understanding and the idea of the Spider-Man lore. And then, of course, my kids got obsessed with into the Spideyverse type of thing, or a couple of them anyway did. So we watched a bunch of that, and that was intriguing. I liked this idea of the multiple characters and the different story arcs that are all have the same kind of basic origin outline. But anyway, so of course, Spider-Man starts out, he is a nerdy kid who is, not well liked and well received, but he's got his own little tribe. And then, of course, he gets bit by the spider. The spider bite is itself something painful, but it's like winning the lotto, man. It winds up, at first he doesn't understand, and it's this kind of first encounter with being different, the first encounter with something painful at that time. But when he wakes up and he has these superhuman abilities, it's like, I'm a god. I can do anything. I'm overwhelmed by how good and powerful I am. And so then he starts to try to monetize that, right? He tries to use it for his own good, for his own benefit, betterment, in very materialistic and very base ways. So he starts fighting, and he's fighting bad guys, or he goes into this fighting circuit so that he can make money off of the winning lotto ticket that he had. So he winds up doing this very self-seeking way of using his powers. And of course, we all know the story. He steps aside for the bad guy, and he doesn't care that the bad guy is doing the bad thing. because he realizes the system's bad. And so when somebody is stealing from a criminal, does it really matter? And so I guess he becomes a moral arbiter. He judges between what is good and what is bad, and he decides that he's going to let the bad guy go. And of course, the immediate consequences of Uncle Ben getting killed in the alley really hit him hard. And the catchphrase, the tagline, or whatever, with great power comes great responsibility, right? This is the Spidey way. So Spider-Man is just riddled with grief. He is just beside himself. He had the means to do the right thing and he didn't, and it cost him immediate consequences that were very great and very grievous. So he starts to understand that the powers that were given to him were not meant just for his ego, for his good. And he needs to turn. So he starts out with this idea that he got the win on the lottery ticket, and then he moves into the idea where it becomes a broken story, right? So he uses his good powers for evil gain or selfish gain or personal gain. And then, of course, the transcendent ideas that he must overcome, that good needs to conquer over evil. And something that's super interesting and relevant for the Daniel Taylor idea of the stories is that these actions fold into a bigger story. This responsibility and the guilt, it's eating him alive, but he folds that into his personality. And now Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, becomes a person not just that is evil or grief-stricken, but he turns it into good. So, yeah, I think it's really interesting, the ideas behind the story, that when we, it's a little puppy barking and barking and barking. when we have these opportunities and these responsibilities, will we use them when we have the opportunities of power of some sort? And I guess for me, I can relate a lot of that to parenting and some parenting fails that eventually, hopefully, help me to learn and grow. But the honest truth is, as a parent, you start out much bigger than these small humans in your house. And it's easy to just like force something, especially for time or because you're being impatient. And so if the kid's not listening, you just pick them up and move them. And that's, using my power, as it were, in an irresponsible way. But it's convenient for me and it's easier for me. So I learned when you do that you create these really bad scenarios that will come back to you in consequences in the years to come. So, are there any ways or areas in your life that if Uncle Ben were to walk into your story right now, what would he say about you and your ideas? So if Uncle Ben were to come to me with the idea, with great power comes great responsibility, he would see that maybe in the last 3 to 5 years, I've really strived to grow in this area in particular, where I'm not trying to bend or force or use coercion to try and get my way anymore, or I try and be really mindful about that. So it's an area that needed growth, and I think over time it's helped me to become a person that's able to be more patient, to be more understanding, to be willing to talk to others. I'm just wondering if there's any areas in your life where something something's a scar or a bad thing or a consequence was able to be turned into your superpower. With God, we know all things work together for his good, for those that are called according to his name and his purposes, his plan. We also know that he works through our weakness. So there's a principle here. It's a biblical principle. I think it's a natural principle. It's a natural outcropping. Honestly, when something bad happens, where was I going with this? So this is why the live stream is so hard. I won't be able to edit. No. Right. So in an area of weakness, for me, the area of weakness in this particular scenario was the area of trying to utilize my strength and my power, my dominance in some way to overpower. So that's the weakness. That's the thing that I'm using for my own gain. And when I yield that to God and when I lay it down and I recognize it not as a strength, but actually as a weakness, then he's able to work in and through me so that I can hopefully, potentially, be more patient, be more loving, be more gentle. Yeah. So is there any spaces in your life where you think, oh, that was not the best, but maybe now God is going to use it? And also, who in your life is around that you see it's kind of like an MJ for you, the person that knows you fully and understands who you are and still accepts you. That's really great to have. It's really important to have some community, have some connection. If you can find someone in your life, hopefully we can build something here even. Right. So if you have any type of comments or ideas or thoughts, please put them in the comment section. I am looking to build more of a community, so having people subscribe and be connected would be really fun. The idea that Spider-Man, now the Spider-Man and the Spideyverse and the whole, Spider-Man canon and lore, it is shifting and changing and evolving. And I'm just really happy to see that it's starting to go back to its origins. It got kind of crazy and kind of messy. There's a lot to be said and to be had of the angst teen or the angst young adult even struggling with the constraints of society. What does it mean for Spidey to start adulting, for Peter Parker to have to pay his bills and still try to be good and try to have this alternate life where he does the right thing and really helps people? And so all of those are great themes to think about and work through. And I love that they've gone through some of that multiverse idea where you get to see multiple scenarios. There was this movie called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. I really enjoyed that story, but kind of did a little number on my mind because I'll do that sometimes. Like, well, if I had chosen this, what would have the outcome been of these? Because of that one choice or that one situation, if that had changed, how would that have changed all these other situations in my life? And with Spider-Man, it's kind of neat is that, like, it's basically his circumstances that change very often and not really him. So you're still the same person in all these scenarios. The problem is you can't really live there. And you need to figure out how to grow and change and move and just live and deal with the cards you're dealt with. How to turn these situations and circumstances into positive expressions. Right. So this is my live episode. I don't know really how long it was, and I'm not going to be editing it all. So you'll see how different they are from my long form videos. Obviously, the short form videos are highly, highly edited. Everything is edited through Riverside. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff. But yeah, so this is being recorded in Riverside, but I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to throw it right up as if it was alive so that I can get comfortable and used to the idea of live video. So I hope this episode helped understand why we don't need to be afraid of stories, how we can understand stories in a biblical framework, how as long as we're being inspired by a story or educated by a story, we don't need to be afraid of them. So next week, we're going to talk about another story, a story that refuses to stay broke. I'm actually not sure. I was thinking about talking about the book Lolita, which is kind of really a bent story. It's really kind of messy, but it was a great eye opener for me and really helped me to not be afraid to delve into and to explore even the darker side of humanity and figure out what it is that is so compelling about these ideas, why we are drawn to darkness, and how to overcome those baser desires. Anyway, so yeah, that's my little teaser for Lolita I'm going to talk about next week. And I hope until then that, well, I guess what's my close is something like that we can stay sensitive and remain teachable to God's Spirit so that we can grow together. And yeah, till next time. See you later.